Have you ever sat on a plane and thought to yourself, what are they not telling us? The little hooks on the wings that almost nobody notices, the reason flight attendants skip the coffee, even the mysterious passenger who could be armed but you'd never know. Airplanes are full of hidden details and surprising secrets, and once you hear them, you'll never look at flying the same way again. Stick around until the end because some of these tricks could make your next trip safer, easier, and way more comfortable. On almost every flight, there could be someone with a very specific mission, and they're sitting quietly like any other traveler. Air marshals blend in perfectly. They often choose an aisle seat near the front, close enough to the cockpit to react instantly. They board early, travel light, and you'll never catch them with a glass of wine in hand. And the most important part, they will never reveal who they are unless absolutely necessary. If you think you've spotted one, keep it to yourself. Calling them out could put everyone at risk. When those yellow masks drop from the panel above your seat, it feels like you're connected to a giant oxygen tank. The truth is different. The air comes from a small device called a chemical generator. It creates oxygen through a tiny reaction, almost like a safe little explosion, and it keeps flowing for about 12 to 20 minutes. That is all the time a pilot needs to drop the plane to a safe altitude where everyone can breathe normally. Now here's something that might surprise you. Not every plane you step into is brand new and shiny. Some of them first took to the skies decades ago, even back in the 1970s. If you want to know how old your plane is, look for the tail number near the boarding door or at the back of the fuselage. Plug it into a database and you'll find its exact age. Sometimes you're sitting inside something older than you are. Black boxes are another misunderstood detail. They're not black at all. They're painted a bright orange so they stand out in wreckage. Inside are two separate recorders. One captures data like altitude and speed, and the other records everything said in the cockpit. They're designed to survive crash, fire, and even deep ocean pressure, and each one has a beacon that can transmit a signal for up to 30 days after an accident. Take a closer look at the wings next time you board. You might notice small metal hooks near the exits. They're part of an emergency system for water landings. Ropes attached to those hooks so passengers can safely climb out and wait for rescue without sliding off the slick wet surface. It's a tiny feature that could save hundreds of lives. And what about those spirals painted on jet engines? They look like design flourishes, but they serve a deadly serious purpose. When the engine is running, the swirl becomes a spinning blur. It warns ground crew that the suction zone is active, powerful enough to pull a person in instantly. One simple spiral can stop a fatal mistake. Airplanes even have horns, though they don't use them to honk at other pilots. These horns are for ground communication, a loud buzz used to get the attention of mechanics or signal inside the cockpit. You'll never hear it mid-flight, but it's vital during maintenance on the ground. Above the overhead bins are grooves most passengers never notice. They're hidden handrails. Flight attendants use them to move safely through the cabin during turbulence. Without them, they'd be stumbling and falling into passengers with every bump. Seats hold their own surprises. On some long-haul planes, the cabin wall curves in a way that gives window seats extra shoulder space. All seats often have a hidden button underneath the armrest that lets it lift up, creating more room. And believe it or not, sometimes the dreaded middle seat is actually wider than the others. Modern planes like the Airbus A350 even use cabin lighting as a tool. The LED lights aren't just for mood, they mimic sunrise and sunset, tricking your body into adjusting faster to new time zones. It's a small touch, but it can reduce jet lag more than you think. And not all planes carry people. Some giants are designed for massive cargo. The Boeing 747 freighter can swing open its nose to swallow entire train cars or turbines. The legendary Antonov An-225 once carried other airplanes on its back. These monsters rarely see passengers, but they're the heavy lifters of the skies. Even the tires are tougher than you'd imagine. They hit the ground at speeds over 150 miles per hour, inflated to 6 times the pressure of a car tire. Instead of one huge tire, planes use several smaller ones to spread the landing force, strong enough to handle hundreds of brutal landings without bursting. And then there's one idea that sounds like it belongs in a science fiction movie. Engineers once designed a detachable passenger cabin that could separate from the plane in an emergency and float down with parachutes. It's been tested in prototypes, but cost and complexity have kept it grounded. Still, it shows how far designers are willing to think when it comes to safety. Now let's talk about you, the traveler, and a few simple tricks that can make your next flight easier. Window seats are great for views, but they're colder. The freezing air outside transfers through the walls, so if you sit by the window, bring a layer or ask for a blanket. Hot drinks are another hidden problem. The water used for coffee and tea comes from onboard tanks that aren't cleaned nearly as often as they should be. Tests have found bacteria in them. Even flight attendants avoid it. Safer options are bottled water or juice. The dirtiest places on the plane aren't the bathrooms. It's the tray tables and seat back pockets. They're full of trash, tissues, even dirty diapers from previous passengers. Wipe them down and don't put food directly on the tray. If you can, book morning flights. They're less likely to be delayed, and turbulence is usually lighter earlier in the day. Plus, you'll arrive with more time to adjust. Sitting toward the back can actually get you better service. Flight attendants can hand out extras without the entire cabin noticing. Snacks, blankets, sometimes even drinks. You'll deplane later, but you might get treated better. If you bring a travel pillow, don't inflate it all the way. The change in cabin pressure can make it rock hard or even cause it to burst. Leave it slightly soft for comfort. And here's a secret about meals. You don't need to accept the standard chicken or pasta. You can request special meals in advance: vegetarian, seafood, kosher, gluten-free, and they're often fresher, tastier, and served before the regular ones. Flying has its challenges, but knowing these details puts you a step ahead. You're walking into one of the most advanced machines ever built, filled with clever tricks and hidden safety features. The next time you board, look around, notice the little hooks, the lights, the rails, the spirals. They're all there for a reason, some to protect you, some to make the journey easier. And now you know what most passengers don't.